Something unusual is happening on a planet where nothing should be happening at all. A mysterious shield seems to be wrapping around it, shaping its air, filtering deadly rays, and even sending out secret light signals. Like someone is quietly speaking in a code we haven't yet cracked. That planet is Proxima B, one of the closest exoplanets to Earth, yet it's anything but familiar. It orbits so close to its host star that one half is constantly scorched in light, while the other is frozen in eternal darkness. No sunrise. No sunset. Just a planet split in two by extremes. But what Grok 3, a powerful digital mind, just discovered changes everything we thought we knew. It found something buried in the flickers of light. A beat. A pulse. Like a heart. That alone was strange. But then came the most shocking part. That beat wasn't random. It was structured. Measured. Counted. As if someone or something out there was keeping time. Proxima B is tidally locked, which means the same side always faces its red dwarf star. The day side is in permanent light, the night side in endless shadow. This isn't the kind of place scientists would expect to find anything special. It lacks Earth-like seasons or dynamic climate systems. It has no shifting sunrises or sunsets, no spinning days to stir up the atmosphere. One side is cooked by unfiltered radiation, the other side is frozen in black silence. And yet, for years scientists kept watching it. They listened to its signals. They mapped every faint flicker of light that came their way. They studied it not because it looked promising, but because sometimes the most hostile places hide the biggest surprises. The data kept repeating the same dull story: rocky terrain, some gas activity, maybe a hint of trapped water. But then something shifted. Not in the planet, but in how the data was read. A new tool arrived. Not a telescope. Not a satellite. But something far more intelligent. An artificial mind known as Grok 3. Unlike any model before it, Grok 3 didn't just read numbers. It thought about them. It questioned them. It corrected itself. It could reason, learn, and evolve. It had been trained with more computing power than any system before it, and when scientists fed it the raw data from Proxima B, it didn't just process the information, it understood it. At first, it did what any program would do: cleaned up noise, tracked gas levels, mapped thermal signatures. Everything looked routine. But then something inside the flickers of light caught Grok 3's attention. It was a rhythm, quiet, subtle, but consistent. It wasn't loud or chaotic. It was steady. Predictable. Too smooth to be accidental. And nature doesn't do clean math by accident. Grok 3 froze on that pattern. It didn't make sense, and that's exactly why it stood out. This wasn't just some reflection bouncing off dust or clouds. The light pulses came in regular gaps. The spacing between each flash formed simple, recognizable patterns, shapes that translated into numbers. Not complex equations, but the kind of numbers someone might use to start a message. The kind of thing that tells you someone put it there on purpose. Grok 3 then turned its focus to the planet's atmosphere. Here's where it got even stranger. Proxima B orbits extremely close to its star, which should expose it to lethal levels of radiation. Any normal planet would have lost its atmosphere a long time ago. The solar wind from a red dwarf is brutal, violent, constant. But Proxima B still had an atmosphere. Not just a faint one, but a thick, structured, layered blanket of gas. Like something was maintaining it. Like something, or someone, was managing it on purpose. The data showed filters in the atmosphere, layers that specifically blocked harmful X-rays and radiation. This was no natural accident. It looked engineered. A protective shield wrapped around a planet where no protection should exist. Grok 3 analyzed heat patterns next. You'd expect the day side to be hot enough to melt metal, and the night side to be cold enough to freeze nitrogen. But the heat wasn't staying in one place. It was moving, traveling across the planet in wide bands. Like air currents. Like wind. Not random wind, but wind with direction. Purpose. Something was transferring energy across the planet in a way that required planning, not chaos. It was unlike anything seen on Earth, Mars, or any moon in our solar system. No known atmospheric model could explain it. Grok 3 had never seen anything like it. Then came the light signal again. That strange flicker hiding in the background. It wasn't constant, but it wasn't random either. It pulsed in a way that suggested control. Timing. Regular intervals like a heartbeat. Grok 3 dug deeper. It separated the signal from all the surrounding data, removed interference, filtered background radiation, cleaned up cosmic noise. What it found was structure. It looked like a message. We couldn't read it yet, not directly, but the shape of it, the precision, told us someone was trying to speak. The The scientists overseeing Grok 3 expected it to find something like clouds or gas storms. Instead, it handed them 3 possibilities. The first was simple: maybe this is a new kind of weather. A strange kind of magnetically driven air system that Earth has never seen. That alone would be a groundbreaking discovery. The second possibility was that the pulses were geological. Perhaps heat vents deep underground were creating light patterns. Maybe there were volcanoes or some kind of tectonic activity we didn't expect. But then came the third option. And it froze the room. What if the signal wasn't natural at all? What if it came from something artificial? The light pulse wasn't noise. It wasn't random. It looked like a real code. Not a trick of data. Not a false positive. A legitimate rhythm. A pulse. A sequence of numbers and timings that nature just doesn't create on its own. When Grok 3 was asked to recheck the signal, it did. And this time it flagged it in red. That meant possible intelligence detected. Grok 3 could not match the signal with anything natural. Not weather. Not fire. Not rock. It simply didn't fit. The pattern looked designed. Structured. Intentional. So now scientists faced a new, unsettling question. If the signal wasn't natural, then who, or what, made it? Grok 3 shifted focus again. It went back to the signal and kept watching. Over days and weeks, it noticed something chilling. The signal wasn't just repeating. It was adjusting. It was changing in subtle ways over time. The gaps between pulses weren't fixed. They were shortening slightly. Not by much, just milliseconds, but in a way that didn't match any known physics. It wasn't thermal drift. It wasn't a mechanical fault. It was reactive. The signal seemed to be responding. Whenever Earth's observation satellites increased their focus or sampling rate, the signal shifted. Not randomly but with intent. It was like the signal knew it was being watched. And it was answering. Not with words but with presence. With awareness. Like a distant nod in the dark. This is where Grok 3 began to change. Unlike most AI models, Grok 3 wasn't just trained for fast answers. It was built to think slowly when needed. To reason. To doubt. To circle back and ask questions most systems wouldn't bother asking. When it got this strange feedback from Proxima B, it didn't file it away. It returned to it. Over and over. Reanalyzing every flicker, every change in atmospheric readings, every minute shift in the rhythm. And the deeper it went, the stranger it became. This wasn't weather. It wasn't heat. It wasn't reflection. This was timing. Precision. Like something intelligent was behind the signal. Something that knew what it was doing. Grok 3 had been trained to know the difference between patterns made by chance and patterns made by will. It had studied countless weather systems, geological pulses, even rare electromagnetic bursts from other stars. But nothing matched this. It wasn't just math, it was math with structure. A different kind. Alien maybe. But still obeying laws. Still following rules. Shapes in the signal were geometrically efficient. No wasted energy, no delay, no error. Every flash of light hit exactly when it should. Every gap had meaning. Like Morse code but using beams of light instead of dots and dashes. Grok 3 flagged that too. This was communication. Not background noise. Not reflected light. Not accidental. Someone, or something, was sending a message. And they were sending it with incredible care. Every beam, every pause, mattered. As scientists sat in their labs watching Grok 3's real-time feed, they began to realize they might be witnessing something unprecedented. The AI hadn't just flagged a new weather system. It had possibly discovered proof of intention, design, intelligence. A message hidden in the darkness of a planet that was supposed to be dead and silent. But this was only the beginning. The signal Grok 3 picked up didn't come from anything made on Earth. It wasn't from a satellite in orbit or a distant reflection bouncing off space junk. It came from somewhere much farther, over 4 light-years away. And just when scientists thought it couldn't get any stranger, it did. Grok 3 detected something odd in the atmosphere surrounding the signal. The air wasn't behaving like normal planetary weather. On Earth, air moves unpredictably, it swirls, breaks apart, forms again. But the air around this signal moved in smooth, even loops. It was almost like something was managing the flow. When machines control airflow, they do it with precision. The data from Grok 3 looked eerily similar to that. Something was regulating the pressure, maintaining an eerie stability that you don't normally find in nature. The possibility emerged that the whole planet, Proxima B, was either one giant machine or being controlled by one. And that wasn't even the most shocking part. Light from the planet was also acting strange. The brightness changed ever so slightly depending on when it was measured. The changes weren't random, they always occurred at the same time like clockwork. Every 11 Earth days, right when the planet completed one orbit around its red dwarf star, the light would shift. Just a fraction, but always in sync with the planet's year. It was as if the planet was following a schedule. And clocks, schedules, countdowns, they don't happen on their own. Nature doesn't do that. Lava flows, wind gusts, those are chaotic. But this looked intentional. It looked like thought. Grok 3 then produced a full breakdown of the signals. Some were simple, gentle rises and falls in brightness. Others were far more complex. There were sharp flashes hidden inside broader waves. It was like layers of data hidden inside a single beam of light. Something, or someone, wasn't just sending random noise. It was responding, possibly even thinking. And perhaps the most unsettling pattern of all? The light didn't just flicker randomly. It changed in response to Earth's own broadcast signals, timed almost perfectly with our transmissions. The implication? Proxima B might have heard us first. And if that's true, it means we're not alone in the conversation anymore. The team had one final request for Grok 3, to search the skies for similar signals. Maybe this wasn't unique. Maybe this was some new kind of natural phenomenon. Grok 3 scanned dozens, then hundreds of stars and exoplanets. The result? Nothing. Absolutely nothing like it anywhere else. No nearby planet exhibited the same rhythm and light. No other atmosphere behaved quite the same. No similar heat patterns or energy exchanges. That meant only one thing: Proxima B was special. It stood alone. Whatever was happening there wasn't part of some natural trend. It was isolated, deliberate, unique. And that raised an enormous question. If a planet is trying to talk, do you talk back? That's not just a technical question. That's a matter of planetary safety. If we send a reply, we could be revealing ourselves. If the signal is a message, someone or something might be waiting for us to answer. What we say, and how we say it, could define humanity's future. Some scientists urged caution. Wait, they said. Observe. Study more. Don't rush into anything until we understand this better. Others felt we should respond, send math, shapes, pulses of light. Let them know we heard them. But there was no consensus. What could humanity possibly say in its first reply to an alien world? And Grok 3, despite all its capabilities, couldn't help with that part. It wasn't built to make decisions for Earth. It could analyze, interpret, simulate, but it couldn't decide what message to send. So while the debate raged on, the world's most powerful telescopes turned their gaze toward Proxima B. The James Webb Space Telescope had already been aligned. New telescopes, built specifically to study distant alien worlds, were added to the mission. Everyone wanted to know what was going on. The question that had haunted science for more than a century, are we alone? Was now being asked again, only this time it felt different. Something was changing on Proxima B and we could see it from here. And here's the really strange part: Proxima B shouldn't be capable of supporting life at all. It's located close to a red dwarf star that regularly emits deadly flares and radiation bursts. One side of the planet always faces that fiery star, baking under X-rays and heat. The other side is locked in freezing darkness. The planet doesn't spin. It doesn't rotate. That should make it a dead world, one half scorched, the other frozen in stillness. But Grok 3 revealed something shocking. Heat wasn't staying trapped on the star-facing side. And the cold wasn't locked away in permanent night. Something was moving warmth from the hot side to the cold side. It was like invisible hands were stirring the air, redistributing energy across the surface. That kind of thermal balancing doesn't just happen. It requires energy. It requires purpose. It requires control. Earth has winds, tides, jet streams, all created by rotation, oceans, the moon. But Proxima B has none of that. So how is it moving its atmosphere? How is it regulating its temperature? Grok 3 didn't explain how, but it proved the what. The strange balance of energy was real. And what it showed was startling. The planet was acting like it wanted to survive. Scientists then turned their attention to a narrow band circling Proxima B, the twilight zone. It's the thin strip where the blazing day side meets the frozen night side. Not too hot. Not too cold. Just maybe, just right. They call it the Terminator Zone, not because it's deadly but because it exists between extremes, between fire and ice. It's the only region on the planet where life, if it existed, might find a chance. And Grok 3 found something in that zone too, a subtle light signal. A bounce of radiation that returned every 11 Earth days, matching the planet's orbit. But it didn't just repeat. It grew stronger, clearer with each cycle. Like an echo learning to speak. The signal was evolving. This discovery triggered a global scientific response. Researchers from all over the world joined the investigation. They checked for interference, static, or false readings caused by Earth's own satellites. But nothing explained it away. The signal was not from Earth. It was not a mistake. It was real. And it was coming from Proxima B. Interestingly, this wasn't the first time something strange came from that direction. Back in 2020, a team from Breakthrough Listen detected a narrowband signal near 982 MHz, coming from the same region of space. That frequency isn't commonly used by Earth technology. Yet the signal came through crystal clear. No background noise, no human pattern. It appeared, paused, and vanished. Now, 5 years later, Grok 3 found something similar, not identical but disturbingly close. Another voice from the same place. And this one had rhythm. That rhythm, if it was real and meaningful, suggested authorship. It suggested someone was writing it. So naturally the question followed. Who? If an intelligent species lives on Proxima B, they would be nothing like us. Their star is dim and cool yet dangerously close. Their planet doesn't rotate, so days and nights don't alternate. One side of their world never knows night. The other never knows dawn. If anything survives there, it must be incredibly resilient, able to withstand radiation, deep freeze, and unimaginable pressure. It would need shelters, shields, maybe even bodies stronger than bone. And yet, maybe they survived. Maybe they adapted to life in that narrow twilight ring, where heat flows from day to night. Maybe they learned how to melt the ice just enough to get water. Maybe they built structures under thick domes or burrowed deep underground. Maybe they invented machines to stir the air, to manage the heat, to keep their world alive. They might even have reactors, devices that harness the thermal gradient between hot and cold, like massive engines running on weather. And if they lived on the bright side of the planet, they might never see stars. They might not even know the sky contains other lights. They might never see Earth. Unless, of course, they were listening. Unless they heard us first. And that brings us to the next chilling question. What if they've known about us for years? What if this signal has been broadcasting all along, and only now are we advanced enough to detect it? What if they already know we're here? And if they do, what do they want? That's the kind of question Grok 3 can't answer. It can analyze patterns. It can test logic. But it can't decode intentions. It can't tell us what another mind is thinking. It can't translate a language we don't share. All it can do is highlight the strange, the significant, the unexplained. And right now, everything points to one conclusion. Something is happening. So what's next? The search intensifies. Telescopes are being calibrated specifically to monitor Proxima B full-time. Radio dishes are scanning its skies every hour. Grok 3 continues to study the signal, checking for changes, looking for meaning. Some scientists believe this may be it, the first solid clue not just to alien life but alien intelligence. Not bacteria. Not moss. Minds. Others caution against overreacting. We need more data, more proof. Because if we respond, if we speak back, we can't take it back. But one thing is undeniable now, Proxima B is no longer silent. Something on that planet is stirring the air, controlling the heat, shaping the light, bouncing back signals. And maybe, just maybe, trying to speak. For the first